Jamie is deciding whether she's going to disembowel me in this segment or wait to see if there is enough biscuits. Do you see this look of terror on my face? This is how scared I am of my own dog. Okay.
It happens.
Good morning. Good morning. Just somebody, right, that's here next week when I'm on vacation, just check for the smell of a human body that, is being eaten by dogs. Just, take just a sniff upstairs. Okay. All right. Sean and I will be on vacation next week. Hooray! And Chris and Travis will be holding down the ship with all of our regulars. A-Team will still be in. And then following week, Travis Bone on vacation. So here we are. Here we are. I'm wearing Sexy Liberal t-shirt because it's a Sexy Liberal Friday. Frangela, John Fugelsang, and Representative Jackie Spear, who is also a Sexy Liberal.
Yes, she is.
But, we've had this latest horrific gun violence. She's, of course, one of the few Congress people. She's survived gun violence at Jonestown and then went through January 6th again. And then, watch this again yesterday, or excuse me, a few days ago in Atlanta. All right, I don't even know where to start. What douchebaggery should we start with? Rand Paul, who just remains a douchebag.
Yeah.
For time immemorium. Would that? What? He is okay. First of all, someone corrected me. He's not really a doctor. He is a
ophthalmologist.
Unregulated, he's a libertarian. He doesn't like regulations. So he's like something licensed, really, eye doctor that's had like two major, what do you call those? Suits against him. What do you call malpractice suits?
No,
I assume he tried to do someone's eye surgery with a rusty melon baller because freedom, because no regulation. Yeah. I don't know for sure. But anyway.
I would use a spork.
Yeah, he was being a douchebag to Dr. Fauci again. But obviously he's not a doctor. Does he really not understand science, or is he just a douchebag? I don't. Yeah. Okay. I don't. Where? There was a great tweet. Where was it? Where is it? Hang on. Wait, you know what?
I know which one you're talking about.
I think we're always Team Rand Paul's neighbor. I'm sorry, but I didn't mean that. However you thought I meant that, I didn't mean it like that. Okay, I just mean that Rand Paul annoys us. That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't mean violence. Where is my favorite?
It was in your 5 o'clock
Where
stack.
is my favorite headline of the day? Wax Museum removes Trump statue because people kept punching it. Okay, so see, we're not taking crazy pills. He inspires the same sort of. Where was that? Where's that Wax Museum?
That was in I believe it was in San Antonio. It was in Texas somewhere.
Yeah, his grave is going to need a, splash guard or something. You got what I meant there.
Next to it.
See, I didn't even have to go right to peeing on his grave. You knew what I meant. Okay, everybody's paying attention today. Yay. Okay. Okay, so let's skip down to 12. Okay, so he cannot be this stupid, really? I mean, how many times can doctors and experts in the CDC say you need to continue to mask? Even if you've been vaccinated, you can catch a variant, which Dr. Fauci tried to explain to him. You can still catch it. You can still give it. The point is you will not be hospitalized or die. That's the whole point of the vaccine. But, okay. All right, here we go.
You're telling everybody to wear a mask, whether they've had an infection or a vaccine. What I'm saying is they have immunity, and everybody agrees they have immunity. What studies do you have that people that have had the vaccine or have had the infection are spreading the infection? If we're not spreading the infection, isn't it just theater?
No, it's not.
You have the vaccine and you're wearing 2 masks. Isn't that theater?
No, that's not. Here we go again with the theater. Let's get down to the facts.
Here we go.
Yes. Okay. And also, Rand Paul. Yeah. Okay. And on to this.
When you talk about reinfection and you don't keep in the concept of variants, that's an entirely different ballgame. That's a good reason for a mask. In the South African study conducted by J&J, they found that people who were infected with wild type and were exposed to the variant in South Africa, the 351, it was as if they had never been infected before. They had no protection.
Okay. And the last one.
You've been vaccinated and you parade around in 2 masks for show.
No.
You can't get it again. There's virtually 0% chance you're going to get it, and yet you're telling people that have had the vaccine, who have immunity. You're defying everything we know about immunity by telling people to wear masks who've been vaccinated.
No.
Instead, you should be saying there is no science to say we're going to have a problem from the large number of people being vaccinated. You want to get rid of vaccine hesitancy? Tell them they can quit wearing their mask after they get the vaccine. You want people to get the vaccine? Give them a reward instead of telling them that the nanny state's going to be there for 3 more years and you got to wear a mask forever. People don't want to hear it. There's no science behind it.
Well, let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Masks are protective.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And by the way, no one said 3 more years or forever. All the doctors have said right now.
Yes.
While we don't have enough people vaccinated and we don't know 100% of the science yet. Charles said Rand Paul is an uncertified eye doctor. That's it. Uncertified is the word. Who has faced 2 malpractice lawsuits. Dr. Fauci is an international expert in immunology and is responsible for saving millions of lives during a pandemic. I don't know. It's so difficult. You decide. You decide who you should listen to.
Hello, Steph.
Justice is coming, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to make
Now
that
more
sound,
than ever. Now
didn't
more than ever.
mean to make that sound dirty. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing for America. Well, you tweeted all indicators are the Manhattan DA's office is heading toward indicting Donald Trump. I mean, they are the twin velociraptors, Georgia and New York, right? What do you think? Because Georgia is heating up this week as well, right?
Yeah. So first of all, don't worry about Cy Vance announcing that he's not seeking re-election. Frankly, that could be a good thing, because I think a fair question is, how aggressively has Cy Vance gone after the Trump family, the Trump organization, in the 10 plus years he's been district attorney? He has not been aggressive about it. I'm not accusing him of anything, but you know what? Maybe it's time to get some fresh blood in there. But Steph, there are strong indicators that they're moving toward a criminal indictment of Donald Trump, because one, they spent, years and took 2 trips to the Supreme Court, and they finally got Donald Trump's tax returns and financial records spanning 8 years. And that's a treasure trove of financial crimes. 2, they hired a really expensive expert forensic accounting firm to build a case against Trump. 3, they hired an expert mob prosecutor in Mark Pomerantz, the former chief of the criminal division at the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office. And 4, they just met for an 8th time with Michael Cohen. I love Michael. I've been on his podcast. I don't think I want to spend 8 separate, interviews with him unless I'm really serious about moving toward indicting Donald Trump. The only open question, Steph, is who gets out of the chute first with a criminal indictment? Is it Georgia or is it New York? I think it's neck and neck, and I think it's a push.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And I have to ask you, so this latest story in the New Yorker, Alan Weisselberg, obviously the CFO of, is reported to be under scrutiny by prosecutors there. Okay, but these details in the New Yorker, Jennifer Weisselberg, who was once married to Alan Weisselberger's son, Barry, expressed uncertainty her former father-in-law would flip. She described her former father-in-law as being in Trump's thrall. His whole worth is, does Donald like me today? And it's his whole life, his core being, he's obsessed. He has more feelings and adoration for Donald than for his wife. Asked if Weisselberg would flip under pressure, she said, I don't know. For Donald, it's a business. For Alan, it's a love affair. For the life of me, I don't understand loyalty to this lifelong criminal, con man, grifter, crook, horrible human being who is not loyal to anybody. Do you?
Yeah, it's equal parts fear, greed, and Stockholm syndrome for the people who are beholden to Donald Trump. I think those 3 things in combination. If you're a really weak person, whether you're an accountant like Weisselberg or a Republican senator, Those are the three things: fear, greed, and Stockholm syndrome, that keep you loyal to Donald Trump. But here's the thing: Alan Weisselberg has to ask himself one important question. Do I love Donald Trump more, or do I love my sons more?
Yeah.
Because as we saw in that New Yorker article, two of his sons are plugged into Donald Trump pretty closely. One has a direct business relationship. The other has a banking relationship. And the talk is that the prosecutors are also looking at Weisselberg's son. And I have to say, as a former career prosecutor, if, criminality is a family affair, Steph, we will absolutely leverage criminal cases legitimately, ethically, and honestly, leverage criminal cases against the adult children in order to get the father to flip. And that's what's going on right now with Alan Weisselberg.
As usual, there were disgusting parts of the New Yorker story. Weisselberg family was sitting Shiva, and Trump shows up in a limousine. It was for Alan Weisselberg's mother. Trump shows up in a limo, says, "This is where my CFO lives. This is embarrassing." Then he showed various Shiva attendees photographs of naked women with him on a yacht at a Shiva. After that, he starts hitting on me, said the daughter-in-law. Jennifer claimed that Alan Weisselberg, instead of being offended on her behalf, humored his boss. She said he didn't stand up for me. So showing naked pictures at your mother's funeral, I don't know. I would think that might be something that might.
I immediately thought of the case that E. Jean Carroll has against Donald Trump, because that is moving forward. And I think they are somewhere in the midst of discovery.
Yeah.
So there is so much discovery with respect to Donald Trump's, legendary sexual assaults of women and misbehavior that, frankly, will be in E. Jean Carroll's suit.
Yeah. Well, Gil, I was just about to ask you about that I hear some experts talking about, that his civil suits could actually be more deadly to him than the criminal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the suit filed by Eric Swalwell, for example, is pretty brilliant. If you read it, it's a lengthy filing, but it's really a good read. It's written for the layman. And he sets out like 9 different reasons why Donald Trump should be held criminally liable for launching the attack on the U.S. Capitol. That personally victimized everybody who was in that building, including Eric Swalwell. Among other things, he is seeking damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress for what Donald Trump put all of the members of Congress and everybody else who was in the building that day through. And that's a good claim. And he also made civil rights claims. There are 9 counts. And frankly, I think they're really strong counts. And that case is absolutely going to proceed with discovery. So you could see Donald Trump ordered to sit for a deposition. And you know what? He doesn't do so good when he's under oath telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's just these stories after story. In terms of the Capitol, how about this guy? The guy arrested Friday for assaulting. These are the we love the police crowd, for the assaulting the D.C. Metro police officer. Confessed to the FBI that he buried the officer's badge in the backyard. He was just arrested in Buffalo. He was caught on video assaulting this officer, Mike Fanone, who was tasered and assaulted by rioters and dragged into the mob. Little by little, now that Merrick Garland is there, right, it really does feel like justice is coming, but more and more evidence is coming out, more and more arrests, right?
Absolutely. And Mike Fanone is a friend and a former colleague of mine. We worked murder cases together, and I was horrified when I saw what they did to Mike. The insurrectionists are getting locked up apace. And if you look at what they're saying, it becomes really important in a future prosecution of Donald Trump for inciting the insurrection. For example, this Q shaman character, the guy with the horns and the tattoos, right? His name is Jacob Chansley, and there's a really long written opinion by Judge Royce Lamberth saying, yeah, I know you want to be released so you can live with your mom and you can eat organic food. That's denied, and let me tell you why. But if you read through that order from Judge Lamberth, right in the middle of it, there's a really important nugget where the Q shaman says, I would not have attacked the Capitol if Donald Trump didn't tell me to. Please, somebody slap an exhibit sticker on it and preserve it for Donald Trump's trial. Because one of the key questions, Steph, in the future trial of Donald Trump for inciting the insurrection is, what were the natural and probable consequences of his statements and his conduct?
Well, that's what
the Q shaman just answered that question.
Malcolm Nance, did they copy right out of one of your books? Did they copy off your paper, the intelligence community?
They generally do, but here's the kicker. I never get credit for it. I mean,
I know.
I said this months and months ago. Many analysts have put out precisely what you just read. And I remember being savaged at one time saying that China wasn't involving itself at this level of intelligence operation because all they had to do was sit back and eat our lunch.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's exactly what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so Malcolm, is it going to make any difference that this was Donald Trump's administration? This was Donald Trump's intelligence community. They obviously squelched it so that it didn't come out, while he was still in office. But we knew this to be true, and it just confirms everything about 2016. Same names. They've upped the bounty for Konstantin Kilimnik, right? It's the same characters involved trying to interfere to help Trump in 2020. And what do they say to that? The Ron Johnsons of the world, are they going to be asked? Is Trump going to be asked? I mean, how do you keep saying fake news, witch hunt? It's like, it's your intelligence community. Assess this.
You have to understand, Steffi, they don't believe their intelligence community. As far as they're concerned, that's part of the deep state. Anything which is negative towards Donald Trump and bends towards reality is a factor that they completely discount and ignore. By the end of today, they will be attacking U.S. intelligence, all of it. And what they'll do is they'll glom on to that one little dissenting voice that said China may have been working against Donald Trump. Well, China doesn't have to work against Donald Trump. Donald Trump works for China with his patents and the money that he thought that he was glomming off of them. And by dismantling U.S. trade agreements and essentially turning over the entire global soybean market to adversaries and other competitors who would sell soybean to China cheaper. We have been doing China favors under the Trump administration forever. So
he's the one that said what a great job they're doing on COVID and how transparent they're being about it, right? I mean,
yes, but the same guy turns on a dime, right, and goes completely back and says, and suddenly starts proclaiming that Joe Biden is working for the Chinese Communist Party. I swear to God, for the love of God, I get up at 3 a.m. and I read these crazy parlor feeds and Gab threads and Twitter threads and forums. And all they talk about now is how the liberals are owned by the Chinese Communist Party. So we spun on a dime to being Antifa, Muslim-loving terrorists. And then when Trump said China did it, China's working with Biden, now that's all they believe. So there's nothing U.S. intelligence is going to put out that is going to even impact these people. A funny story. I was on Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's lawyer's podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
And he said, what is it with Ron Johnson? What is he? Is he a malicious force? Is he just, one of these people who's one of the ed-up believers? And I said, no. You know who I equate him to? I equate him to Mel Brooks, the character Mel Brooks played in Blazing Saddles, the Governor Latomaine, right? And the Governor Latomaine says at one point, "Oh my God, if we're discovered, we're all going to lose our phony baloney jobs."
Right.
That's Ron Johnson.
Yeah.
All right. Soledad O'Brien said he was educated, very well versed, and then when he met Trump, became an instant toady who is afraid he's going to lose his phony baloney job.
Yeah. I know. Well, I heard Soledad say that he's not a dumb guy, because you're like, oh, I see. He's just being deliberately racist to get Trump's base on his side, and then pretend that he's shocked that people would say he's racist.
And it's his true feelings.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, Malcolm, obviously, we've been talking about this, the anti-China rhetoric, and of course, I draw a straight line to the attacks, horrific anti-Asian attack that resulted in 8 dead yesterday in Atlanta. It's just, I'm sorry. I understand, facts, evidence, whatever, but you're like, it doesn't take a genius to go, he's been, calling it China virus, whatever. We suddenly have 150% rise in Asian attacks leading directly to yesterday's tragedy. It's just a new version of, of the kind of hatred and racism that Donald Trump espouses. What's your take on yesterday?
You're absolutely right. I was on Brian Williams last night. And when I was not laughing at Senator Claire McCaskill's comment of calling, what did she call them? Treasonous traitor clowns.
Right.
Which I thought should have been hashtag of the year.
Right.
I drew a straight line. I said, we can draw a straight line from this intelligence report to that attack in Atlanta. What we have here is pure, raw nativism in the United States. It's not just xenophobia, it's racist. And interestingly enough, in my new book on right-wing extremism, I just happened to be writing about the anti-Chinese racism of the 1850s that went as far as the 1880s. They had mass murders of Chinese. The reason I mentioned a little earlier about how the conservatives and the Trump supporters are referring to liberals as members of the Chinese Communist Party is because in the middle of their fever dream, they are they're calling Joe Biden Xiden, Xiden, as if he was owned by President Xi. They literally turn the narratives that we have proven about Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump up on its head and claiming that progressives and liberals are trying to create a Chinese communist world, to the point where they believe, I'm not joking, there are 100,000 Chinese soldiers hidden somewhere in Canada waiting to cross the border. I'm not joking. There are many people out there that are saying that.
Ellie, I mentioned earlier, I'm one of those lame-ass white ladies that wears a Black Lives Matter t-shirt when I have a famous black pundit on. Because I'm that kind of suck-up. Okay, so we have to talk about this. So this is you and me at Politicon. And so Breitbart did a hit piece on you based on your fantastic piece in The Nation. But so at this panel, we're supposed to be playing right-wingers, and the right-wingers are playing left-wingers. So Ellie on purpose wore this funny, hilarious, like MAGA wife beater t-shirt. So they used that picture to make you look crazy, right?
So a couple of things here. Right? First of all, like number one, just so your listeners know, this was in the before times, in the long ago when we could gather in public together, right? So this is pre-COVID. That's why nobody's wearing masks and what have you, right? B, as you say, this was supposed to be a fun panel where the dour, sad-faced conservatives pretended to be dour, sad-faced liberals, and the liberals, like you and me, pretended to be conservatives. I decided to go in costume as a conservative, just so nobody could possibly confuse the tripe coming out of my mouth with my real views, right? So, but my wife predicted that this would happen when I bought the shirt, because it had to come in the mail and she had to see it, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I explained it, and she was like, "Somebody's going to take a picture of that and use it out of context to make you look like a crazy Republican." And I was like, "That will never happen. I am too obviously not a Republican." And technically, I'm still right. They didn't use it to make me look like a crazy Republican.
Here's my favorite.
They just used it to make me look crazy.
You were clearly being a really angry right-winger, so they used that picture. Right? That was really their whole
They
case.
cut you off. They cut you out. You're right there, looking normal and stuff. I bet you'll never do that again.
No. But I love that they're just Mistal pictured here. That's the whole story. Is just about what you look like. Okay, laments that a jury comprised mainly of white people will decide whether killing a black man should be a crime, and then proclaims that a trial should not even be necessary. Mistal openly states white cops, for the most part, can easily get away with murdering black people. And you know why you say that, Ellie? Because white cops, for the most part, can easily get away with killing black people. So everything you
I say it because it's true.
Yes.
But okay, here's a serious thing, and this is why I brought up. Like, I'm not actually annoyed with the picture. I mean, like, it's a classic Breitbart white right wing low blow out of context bullcrap. But like, that doesn't actually bother me. I know who these people are. What annoys me is on two levels. First, just as a writer. As you can see, what they've done is a high-level scrape of my article.
Thank you.
They don't add anything to it. They just quote my article in little bits. Like, give me the click, you people.
Thank you for that.
Just give me the click. So that's just, as a writer, like, is annoying, right? The second thing, it goes to the larger kind of paucity of argument coming from the conservative side, right? I wrote an article about the Derek Chauvin trial.
Yes.
That explains exactly how white people are going to let this cop off.
Right.
In response, right-wing news media re-quotes my article without giving me a click and puts up a funny picture of me out of context. They don't argue with me, right? They don't have an actual point.
Right.
They don't have an actual idea. They don't have an alternative argument for why the jury system as it is set up is good. I'm not sure that anybody over there can even spell jury other than copying and pasting it from somebody who can. All right. So what bothers me kind of at an intellectual level is that if you want to make a counter argument to the point I made, by all means make it. I would listen to it.
Right.
But that's not a counter argument. It's just trash.
Yeah.
And that's all you get from right wingers these days. It's just trash. There is no actual argument, actual principle on the other side.
Right. I admit I'm the idiot that named it Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal Tour as a joke, and then of course they inevitably find the worst picture of me ever and go, "Oh, sexy liberal." I'm like, shut up. Okay. Anyway, but you write in your piece, they're just good points. In a reasonable world, there wouldn't even, what you meant is there wouldn't even be a trial. Chauvin would have accepted some kind of plea deal. That's what most people do when they're caught on camera killing someone. But we don't live in a reasonable world. We live in a white one. Chauvin is white, and he's a cop, and his victim was black. And in most situations, that's all you need to get away with murder. Yeah, I mean, how many cases could we cite right here to prove your point?
Right. The Chauvin case is going to be real painful for a lot of people. And part of the reason why I wrote that is, and I don't know if you guys do this, it's almost like preparing yourselves for the worst. And one of the ways that I kind of process literally emotion at this point in my life is to write it down. And so it's part of it is just trying to get people to understand this might not go the way we think, right? This might not go the way we want. And if it doesn't go the way we want, there'll be some really obvious reasons why. None of them involve justice. None of them involve the search for truth and the quest for accountability. But they are baked into the white jury system. I have a book coming out.
You do?
Where I have an entire chapter where I talk about, it's called Allow Me to Retort, where I talk about the jury system specifically. I have a whole chapter on it. And when you really unpack like how juries are made up, what you see consistently is an effort by generally white people to protect generally white people and punish and hold to account generally black defendants. That's how it's meant to work. It's a little bit inverted in the Chauvin case because usually it's prosecutors kind of stacking the jury against the defendant. Here it's the defendant having opportunities to stack the jury kind of against the prosecution. But the through line is whiteness, right? It's are we protecting white power? Yes, no.